All right, well, welcome everybody to Real Estate Investing Made Easy's Feedback Friday. It is awesome to see everybody jumping on here, and I really appreciate you guys. Welcome to our new subscribers. Some people, we have like 40 different new subscribers over this last week, and we just want to say welcome. So if you're watching the replay, we just want to let you know that every Friday at 10 Pacific Time AM, we will be going live and answering your questions, following up. That's why we call it Feedback Friday, to give you feedback and then also to take your questions live too if you're able to attend. So if you're watching the replay, we'll also follow up with the questions that you leave here and in any video. So we have a really great set of questions that we've gotten from this last week to go through today, as well as a couple really cool announcements. We think they're cool. We're having a live 3-day event. We just got off that meeting, Chris and I, who, by the way, Chris will be jumping on really shortly. And I'm going to send him the link to join on right now. In any event, we are excited to get started, and I'm gonna get started as soon as Chris jumps on with the questions that we got over the last week. But just to let you know, in terms of this upcoming event at the end of this month, it's virtual. You can attend this. We'll share a link in the description. It is how to grow and scale your real estate investing business in these ostensibly challenging times. With the seasons that are to come ahead, you probably should turn off the news, by the way. But if you're watching the news, kind of like me, not taking my own advice, then likely you've seen a lot of stuff about CBDCs and just the change in the economic climate. The word recession comes up a lot. And are we in it? Are we headed to something that might be a little bit more extreme than that? It's going to be focused more on how, as real estate investors, we can continue to thrive in that economic climate, regardless of what that climate is. And we all know, at least from those big dogs, we're talking about those people who have been in, real estate for a long time, that millionaires are made in times of downturns in the economy, especially the financial markets, the housing market, stuff like that. So how to navigate through all of that. I started in a space where that's what my reality was in 2009. And if y'all are old enough to know what it was like being an adult in that time, then you can appreciate what we're going through right now, because a lot of signs are pointing towards a downturn in not just the economy but also the housing market, especially because over the last couple of years we've seen over 20% increases in value and interest rates rising. So none of that stuff is sustainable. So we know where we're going to be headed, but fear not. At the end of the day, what we are doing is the same thing that all of the other people who have bigger platforms are doing. And that is, we are still investing in real estate, and we're going to make it out on the other end of this. So as Chris will jump on here, he'll jump on when he can. And there's a couple things that he has to speak to when it comes to these questions, but I'll get into them right now. So I'll share my screen and I'll make it a little bit bigger so everybody is going to be able to see this. And we will go through all of them. So let's get into this right now. All right, can you all see my screen here on this Feedback Friday? All right, cool. So we have a couple things. I'm going to switch over to here so I can turn this way. We have Jordy. Jordy, we got your question here. When pulling new lists on PropertyRadar, how do you exclude previous properties you already used before from PropertyRadar? I'm having issues with them. I cannot easily exclude. Okay, so that is a really good question, and it was from this video, why and when I'd pay for data, Propwire versus PropertyRadar. And I'll answer that question, but as a preface for those of you who haven't seen this video, Propwire is a place where you can get 250,000 records for free without having to pay for them. They're not skip traced, just so you know. And then PropertyRadar, there's a monthly subscription. Your max is 10,000, and then you pay 1 cent for every record above and beyond that you pull. And we did a lot of content about Propwire because I've been the data guy in the business for a long time. I've been using PropertyRadar, and that's what I stand by. I love PropertyRadar. In fact, for the longest time, nobody else was promoting PropertyRadar because they didn't have an affiliate program. But apparently, they just came out with an affiliate program So whether they did or didn't have an affiliate program, I would say I'm going to link to these things in the description below for quick access. And if you use those links now, it'll be Property Radar supporting the channel. So we would say thank you for that. At the end of the day, the way that I do it is managing data outside of the platform and with the help of the platform itself. So I'm just going to go to the site so that I can show you exactly what that looks like. So let's go to propertyradar.com. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I do this. And then in terms of at least partly how I do this. So I'm going to log in. If you're pulling a list, one thing that you can use, let's just say you're going to look up something. Let's just go to a quick list so this is expedited. Let's say you're looking for, I guess we need a location first, don't we? All right, let's say San Diego is where we're going. San Diego County. Let's make this a little bit smaller so we can see everything. And you know, there's 1,063,000. We don't need that many. So quick lists are really cool. What I like about this, let's go with investors. Let's just go with all foreclosures. So when we click that quick list, there's 1,155. This is how I track to make sure that later I'm not pulling the same list. Now, foreclosures, we know it's going to change dynamically because this is a relatively quick process. Now, as opposed to like absentee owners, owned 20 years or more, maybe tired landlords, vacant houses, stuff like that. But this up here in the actions, you go to copy criteria. So I will copy this link and I'll use it in my own data tracker that I had to create to manage data at a high level. And that for that, you can check out a different video that I'll share with you. And I'll just show you on my screen here what that is. And Chris, can you mute yourself just in case it's not pinned? Let me see speaker. Yeah, immersive. Let's go with that. All right, cool. I would just want to make sure that you guys can see me and not Chris's. So here we go. Let's pin this to the start. But he has joined us and we're excited that he's joined us. All right. So if you go on our site to understand exactly step by step how I track this data and how I don't pull duplicate records and then skip trace them, pay to skip trace them, and I'm wasting money, there's two things that I want to share with you. So you had mentioned when pulling lists on Property Radar, how do you exclude previous properties? I do it by managing the process of if this list of foreclosure lists is, let's just say it's 10,000, I'll put in a separator, something that is, 1950 to 1980, and then the next list I'll pull is 1981 to, 1997 or something like that. That's one quick way, but there's more in-depth training that I've already provided, and I'll show you where it is. Let me look at the site so you can see your channel and then know where it is. So if you go to the videos, you can scroll down here to this one here. If you're wasting time, this one right here, real estate investing fail, data management and Propwire review. So in this video, I go into depth talking about step by step exactly how I do manage that in the same way that you asked. So I would encourage you to, for the sake of time here, because we only have about 45 minutes, to go to this video and watch this video here. You'll see that I share that data spreadsheet that I made to track it. This is the tracker that you see right here. So that's exactly how I do it. Check that video out. What I'll do is I will link the video itself and share this with you in the comment section. And then I'll also share this response so you can have the context as well. So all that said, hey, Chris, how we doing?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. My actual camera is working because I can see myself on the screen back there, but for whatever reason, I don't know whether it's a software issue on Zoom, the computer, the ATEM, somewhere between the camera and Zoom, something's not even coming up. The crazy thing is normally it would actually show it would show my picture, but it's not even doing that. So I don't know what is going on. So we'll have to diagnose that later, but
Gotcha.
What's up, man?
Well, technology is great when it works. That's what's up. That's what's always up.
Yeah. And this never happens when we have like relatively meaningless meetings that we have to jump on. It's always when we're going to go live onto YouTube when when something disastrous happens.
Yeah, well, I was just mentioning at the beginning before you jumped on during your technical issues, welcoming that we have a lot of new subscribers over the last week and letting them know that we'll go live every single week, Fridays minimum. So we do this more often, but Fridays at 10 a.m. And
We have
I'm
to jump on.
sure you new subscribers give us grace as our current subscribers have given us for these technical issues that just so happen to pop up, just like Chris said, when we're going live on YouTube, when we're going to answer your questions,
Yeah.
which we will also answer live as
Which
well.
last week it was the live stream kept on dying. Like
That's
the
right.
crazy thing was in Zoom, it still showed the live on YouTube like indicator at the top. So there was like, if it wasn't for the fact that we also were simultaneously, me and Brad, watching the live stream on a YouTube like browser, like and see it just die, we would have no idea. So yeah, again, so if there's anything that you guys should take from this, it's that life isn't perfect. Everything doesn't go the way that you want it to go. You just got to keep on moving forward, one foot in front of the other, and figure it out. Like, don't make excuses. You know, if we just sat there and cried about it, oh, the Zoom's not working, like that does us no good. So, you know,
We'll try not to cry. I
definitely do.
can't promise that I won't shed a tear, but what I will share, rather than tears at this moment, is the next question. But since you
Well,
are
before the question, I think there's something that we should share that's super relevant for mainly the people that are in Southern California. But if you're not in Southern California
right,
and you ever make it out to Southern California and you're here on a Saturday, this is going to be an every Saturday thing. And so I'm going to share my screen and just show what we're talking about here. Can you see this now?
yeah.
All right. So we're going to go live right now.
Welcome to the San Diego Power Hour. This is the event for action takers by action takers every Saturday in San Diego from 9 to 11 a.m.
I was going to announce that, by the way. I was just waiting to the end. You know, it's one of those stick around because not only do we have a lot of value in terms of answering these questions, but we have something special to announce for everyone who's local in San Diego, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., except for the 24th, because that's when we'll be in LA.
No, we will still do it. We'll just deputize somebody else that will be there in our stead. So I'll handle
Never
that.
mind. Chris is gonna deputize somebody. Just don't make any
Yes.
arrests, okay?
It is this is not going to stop for any reason. This is every Saturday, like clockwork.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, yeah, we're really excited about that because, you know, we're taking action. We're on the phone. It's just a group of people who are continuing to do the things that we talk about needing to do, right? And I know it's not for a lack of wanting to take action for a lot of people. Same thing with me when I got started. Same thing with Chris. Chris, you can briefly share that story of when you first got on the phone with a real estate agent as well. It's not about your ability. It's about just doing it and getting over that hump. So if that's you, this is definitely for you. And then if you've already gotten over the hump, then be an encouragement to other people and show up to actually help them through that.
Yeah, the appropriate phrase would be, this is the event where we help make the mountain a molehill that you can easily step over, right? Many people that get into real estate investing, the biggest fear that they have is talking to people. And even if you're in sales, that can be a challenge for you, right? Like I've had 25 years of sales experience, you know, and I had this irrational fear of getting on the phone with real estate agents at the very beginning because I felt like, hey, they're professionals. They have all of this knowledge and expertise, and like they know a lot more than me. So I, you know, and I don't want to fumble the ball. So like, what do I say? Is it going to be weird? Right. And it was just an irrational fear. And so for somebody that doesn't have 25 years of sales experience, I could only imagine the mountain that would be to climb to get over that so you can actually get on the phone and start taking action. Ultimately, the goal of this power hour is to bring in newbies or even skilled investors and seasoned investors, and sit down alongside them. We're going to provide lists of leads that you can call, and we're going to help you get over that hump. And maybe you don't need help. Maybe you just want to be around the community and kind of feel the energy and the vibe. But whatever it is, it's going to be awesome value. I've got some good buddies that are doing this in Houston, and they grew it from 5 to 10 people week 1, and now every single week they have like 40 or 50 people showing up, just dialing. And they've got they're separated into 2 different rooms. They've got direct to seller room, and then they've got direct to agent room. So yeah, we're going to grow this thing. And this week it is at Elijah's Restaurant in Claremont. So if you just Google Elijah's Restaurant or Elijah's Deli, they have an awesome space in the back. It can fit up to 150 people. So we'll be there from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. But I am future casting, and I'm praying about it and hopefully manifesting that we're going to have this really dope spot in the future that if I can lock it down, we'll let you guys know about.
Awesome. Are we good to proceed?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here we go with this. Can you see my little bubble person down here? Good. All right. I see myself on camera too. So the next question that we are going to address is, how do you change the formula to include properties under $50,000? I get a #num error on properties that were imported under that amount. And this is for the privy process that our friend investor in Colorado named Dan does, that we've shared on this platform with that video. Chris, do you have an answer to that that's going to be more concise than mine?
It's a good question. You know what? Why don't you move on to the next question? And while you're doing that, I'll pull up the spreadsheet, look at the formula, and figure out what the specific thing in the formula is that needs to be changed. So that way we can address that.
Beautiful. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Chris the Deal went to school, of course, getting his degree. And part of what he learned was spreadsheet stuff. So he's really good at spreadsheet stuff, even though he's definitely not that integrator getting in there type kind of guy. So in any event, the other question here is related to what I'll answer. This is a Brad question. Is the property analyst sheet available somewhere? Yes, it is. I will actually link to that. I'll link to this later for you for this. And then for this next question, thank you so much for the video. I feel more confident expressing this creative finance method. Was wondering how you got the owner's number. I can answer that. So in this video, how to seller financing real estate cold calling live, we cold called or followed up with in videos like this, people who we got their phone numbers via skip tracing. So, many of you who have been subscribed to the channel for a while will probably have heard us mention this before. We've talked about this, but as you can see my screen, I'm just going to show you bestskiptracer.com. There it is. And then this is where we skip trace. You could skip trace anywhere, okay? We choose bestskiptracer.com because it will now, with Skippy 3.0 that they're rolling out, give you the ability to automatically cross-reference other lists with themselves. So cross-reference lists. You can cross-reference lists that you've uploaded. Heck, say it's 2 months ago. If you have the same property in that list, then when you pull that same list later and try your best to follow the method that I teach in the video that I shared earlier to make sure you don't pull the same property record, well, you might not be able to, because it's likely pretty impossible to 100% remove every single one of them. It'll automatically not have you skip trace that same record you've already skip traced. So it weeds it out, which is really good. And that's actually the second answer, the second part of the answer to the question that we had up here inside of that Jordy answer or asked. When pulling lists on PropertyRadar, how do you exclude previous properties? It's in the skip tracing that we don't pay for it. So that's outside of PropertyRadar, but it's also relevant to this. So what we want to say about this Best Skip Tracer is, again, you can use whatever the heck you want, but what we use is Best Skip Tracer because we feel they're appropriately named. And then also We do have a link that you'll save 50% off your first month subscription if you choose to go with that route. Linked in the description to help you guys out if you choose that method, which of course we recommend that you do because it's going to
Hey,
save you money.
Do you? I can't find that spreadsheet, the Dan spreadsheet. I don't know if it's. I've even looked in the in that video and not seeing it here. So
Gotcha. Okay, well, we'll figure it out, and if we have to create a different response for him, like even just a YouTube short to just answer his question, then we'll do that. Even if it's not, during this live.
sounds good.
So couple, well, yeah, this was Lazarus Property Group. Well, if it's totally not boring, then I'm in. You can't see that, can you? The totally not boring way I write job posts that get results. 6 days ago. Yeah, so if you guys haven't seen this, Danny said super insightful. Thanks, guys. So I already responded to this, but we have a virtual assistant hiring system, and as lame as it sounds, I'm telling you, it's the one thing you can do to actually scale and automate your real estate investing business to free up more of your time. We have a playlist now out about that, and we're adding to it. There's a couple really cool things that I'm excited to actually post, which I haven't posted yet. And I'll just share it with you right now. If you can see my screen, Jay's on here. This is the employee hiring system made easy, scheduling question sets for vetting video that we haven't even posted yet, but you guys get early access to this. And we're going over exactly how to take this process and implement it, sharing the question sets and everything so that by the time you're interviewing somebody, you will not be wasting their time or yours to distill it down to the top quality candidates, because the goal should be, and I'll post that video later so you guys can see the whole thing, is have you ever gotten in front of an interview where it was a nothing burger and you wasted a bunch of time and you just felt like this pit in your stomach, like, man, I need this role filled because I have to scale my business, but I can't find the right fit? This system will eliminate that, and all of the education is there on the playlist for you guys, that instead of, putting a $5,000 paywall for the course, we have it up there on, as we've eaten the cost, on YouTube for you. So just check that out. All right. Let me see. Actually, I think here we go. We have another one. Good info. Do you have the group mastermind available now? Implementing this stuff in my business is challenging, or is a challenge. Okay. So this was Pilot 9777, and what he's asking is about a group mastermind. Yes, we do. We'll link that in the description below. What we have is, it's called the Made Easy Mastermind. So it's every single week. Right now it's on a Wednesday, and we have mastermind students who come on and we just interact live like this, but it's not, hosted on YouTube or anything like that. It's just for the community members. There's also a Discord channel that we have, and we'll put some more information below for that for you so that you can check that out. All right. And then we've got another question here. We good on questions? Do you want to add anything to that?
Nope.
Okay. So this is, most business owners ignore this, but they really shouldn't. That's actually Chris. He said, link's not clickable. Hopefully it's clickable now. Let's see if it's clickable.
Yeah, it looks like you fixed it. Before it wasn't even blue. It wasn't shown as a hyperlink. So
got it. Okay. Well, that's an easy question. That's from you. Sorry, guys. All right. And then let's see.
Oh, by the way, if you just hit the filter button and then do I have not responded or
got it. Yeah. I got you. Yeah, all the ones that I haven't responded to. So Edgar said, thanks for answering a question last time. And then
that filter's not on still, by the way. A lot of those we've already handled.
I know. I see that. Okay, cool. Well, pretty much that's actually it for the questions from last week. So we have some other time to dive into some other topics too. So, which is good because we wanted to get into a couple things for challenges that we've been experiencing that weren't written down in the comments from some people who were part of the mastermind community, and just feedback that we've been getting. And this is a Chris question. So if it benefits you guys can obviously answer questions live or ask questions live because we'll answer them. But there was one person in particular who asked a question related to cold calling, and there wasn't fear. There was just not being able to get to, every time they had leads, they just got crap leads, right? They said, oh, it's the lead list, or at least they thought it was the lead list, and they weren't able to get any deals done. And when they did get properties under contract, they had to back out of those properties that they had under contract. So, we talked about it a little bit, and this person said, well, I think it has to do with my ability to talk to these sellers on the phone and really get down to like their why. And it turns out that most of these people who they were talking to as leads were qualified leads, and they wanted to sell. Their motivation was high, but they were in a similar situation that necessitated like creative financing strategies, but they didn't know how to pivot to it. In fact, Chris can speak to this, and I mean, I can too, but he's going to be on stage on the 24th of this month in Los Angeles.
Long Beach to be more precise.
Long Beach at Re-Amplified. So if you guys are in the area, it'll be really cool. We'll leave a link to that actually where you can gain access to that event. And it is in person. So he's going to be speaking. That's probably about 500 to 600 people or more that are going to be at that networking event. And that it's going to be really fun. I'm going to be there too. And it was, how do I actually pitch creative financing when the seller needs to sell their property, but they want more money than at least my evaluation says that it's worth. So I'm not going to speak to that because Chris, he's going to warm himself up for this event and speaking to this stuff live to go through that. So I know that that's been some feedback we've gotten from you guys, which everything we talk about is dictated by you. So always feel free to engage with us so that we can bring you guys value, because we're not going to talk about it if it's not something that you wanted. So Chris, somebody's on the phone. I'm a new investor. I know that they want to sell. They have a motivation to sell. Their property was listed on the MLS. It's expired. They obviously can't get the price that they want. So how do you actually turn a corner and say, I get it that you want cash, but creative financing, what options do they have? How do you pitch that? How do you present that?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. So, you always have to, I think a lot of it starts with just the way you kind of build up the conversation and where you start. And, we joined Sub2 a little over a year ago. Actually, we eclipsed our 1 year anniversary not too long ago. So say that again.
Hence the hat.
Oh, yes. Hence the hat. Yeah. So basically with, we actually joined May 15th is when that's when we got into the Facebook group. So probably like a day or so before that. So May 13th, May 14th. So a little over a year now. But the common problem that a lot of people have when they get into Sub2, or just start learning creative finance is it's this really cool shiny object, and it's like, oh, this is freaking amazing. Like, I can give people more money for their house. I can, solve all these problems, X, Y, and Z, right? And so the common theme is people will just automatically jump to creative, right? So they'll just go into a conversation. It's like, oh, I want $300,000 for my house. Yeah, there's no way I can give you $300,000 for my house, but for your house, but how about creative finance, right? And they just go right to it. And they end up shooting themselves in the foot because they haven't laid the groundwork. So really the big thing, there's a couple things, right? So there's a phrase that's commonly used in Sub2, and that is cash, 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 terms are last. And I think the way people perceive that is like, oh, it's just a catchy saying, cash, 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 terms are last, but it's not like literally cash, 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 terms are last, but it's literally cash, 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 terms are last, right? So what I take that to mean, and the way that I implement that in my business, in our business, is I'm pitching them a cash number, and I'm trying to get them to say no to my cash number I mean, if they say yes to my cash number, I'm going to take it, right? Like, so I ultimately, I want them to say yes to my cash number. But if I'm going to go to creative, I want them to tell me no to a cash number 3 times, right? And there's a couple reasons for that, right? What we're trying to do is creative financing is awesome. For people who know about creative financing, it's amazing, right? It's a super awesome way to do deals, close deals, lock up deals, whatever it is, right? And make good money. The challenge is it's weird. Like it's literally the weird kid at school that you're like, he seems reasonable, but he's just a little odd, a little
But
quirky.
he's a genius.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So the challenge there is like most people in America are going to or have only like in their lifetime are going to buy and sell 1, maybe 2 houses. And all of those, the majority of those will be sold the traditional way that everybody is used to, which is you call an agent, you list it on the MLS, and you do walkthroughs and showings and all that jazz. And then somebody buys your house with a traditional mortgage and you move out, they move in, and here's the keys, close escrow, and that's it, right? So when you come into the picture and you're pitching them this creative thing, well, it's like, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to take over your mortgage and your name's going to stay on that, but I'm going to take the title and then you're going to leave and then you can go buy your other house and and all this other stuff, or I'm going to make payments to you. People shut down. They're like, I have no idea what you're even talking about. This is it's bizarre. It's like a totally different planet, right? So you have to get over that hump. And the best way to get over that hump is to eliminate all other options, right? If there is even an inkling that any other method of selling their house is possible for them to get the result they want, they will not go the creative route, like almost 100% certainty, right? So the whole point of the cash terms or last, by you presenting multiple cash offers and having them say no to them every step of the way, you're getting them to psychologically understand that, like, hey, a cash number in general, not just your cash number, but a cash offer in general will not solve the problem I have. Like, it's not an option for me. I want 300 and every cash offer I'm getting is below 200, right? That's taking that option off the table. You also want them to tell you that they do not desire to list it for whatever reason, right? Now, if it's a low equity situation where they have less than 10% equity, it's going to cost them money to list it on the open market because they're going to have to pay real commissions and closing costs, right? So that scenario is a very appropriate scenario where they will feel like, hey, it does not make any sense at all for me to list it on the open market because I'm going to have to stroke a check. And we've done deals with people like that. Now, the other scenarios where people won't want to list it is maybe their house is a disaster, right? And, let's say they don't have a source of heat. Now, in some places, like, you're going to die if you don't have a source of heat. But in Southern California, I lived here for 12 or 13 years, and I think I've turned the heat on maybe 2 or 3 times in that entire time span. So the necessity for heat does not exist. However, if I try to sell a house that didn't have a source of heat, it would not qualify for a mortgage. So that would not be a property I could sell on the MLS effectively, right? And have a buyer come in with a traditional mortgage. So that would be a reason why somebody couldn't sell it on the open market. Maybe it's a hoarder house, right? Maybe they have tons of junk in it and they're ashamed of that and they don't want all these people walking through and judging them, right? So there's a whole host of reasons why people might not want to list it on the MLS. You just need to get them to vocalize that. You can't presume that that is the case. You need to get them to tell you that in no uncertain terms, they are not going to list the property on the MLS with an agent, right? So now you've cleared out the cash offers, you've cleared out the listing it on the MLS. And then the third thing is you need to get them to state to you that in no uncertain terms are they keeping the house. They're not going to stay in it to keep it to live in it. They're not going to keep it to rent it out, right? So like those are not options. If those options are no longer on the table, what else is left? In their mind, they still have a problem. They need to sell this house. They don't know the solution. And that's where the creative finance comes in, right? And the great thing about I'll get into the cash thing in a minute, but you've now removed all other options off the table. And now they're stuck feeling like there's not a solution to my problem. And then you say, well, hey, just out of curiosity, it doesn't sound like any of these will work for you. However, if there was a world in which I could come up to your number, would you be open to terms?
Yeah,
it's a very low barrier for entry. Like, what does that even mean, right? Like, you're trying to invite a question. You don't want to say like, hey, if I could come up to your number, would you be open to taking a down payment and monthly payments on this property? Like, you're going too far, right? Like, think of it as like, picture and imagine, right? You're in, what's Lord of the Rings. What's the place in Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, that's man, you put me on the spot here. Yeah, Middle Earth.
Middle Earth. Okay, you're in Middle Earth and you're on your way to Mordor, right? And there's all these rivers that you have to cross to get all the way to Mordor, right? Well, you need bridges. So you're not trying to jump over all of the rivers in one shot. You just need to cross each individual bridge as they come. And the first bridge is getting them to be open to considering terms, but you want them to ask you, what are terms? Oh, I'm glad you asked about that, right? You're making it their idea to open the discussion about terms, not your idea, right? So it's as simple as that. And then there's a lot of other steps that you have to go along the way to like really deep dive into that conversation and get them to, figure out what the best solution is. I mean, there's a lot of different creative finance options. You've got subject to, you've got seller finance, you've got a hybrid of both, you've got novations, you've got sandwich lease options. I mean, there's just a lot of different creative things that you can do. And so really the first step is just getting them to be open to terms and not just a one lump sum type of sale. Which I'm going to save that joke for another time, but
I know what you were thinking. and what I was thinking is they should have just taken the Eagles to fly directly to Mordor in the first place. And that would
this is true. This is true. Yeah. They used the Eagles to fly home from Mordor. They couldn't have just gotten dropped off, and then picked back up. Like, would have saved everybody a lot of hassle. Frodo wouldn't be struggling with his identity and, being sucked into, the dark side or whatever it is. Yes.
Yes, just like I mix sports metaphors, we have Chris mixing like movie
sci-fi
universes.
Sci-fi universes.
That's funny. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, anyway, back to the creative finance. So once you get them, you just you're creating a plausibility structure, right? Like, I don't need somebody on the front end to tell me, yes, I'm willing to sell you my property via subject to or seller financing. You need to create a plausibility structure where they're open to the discussion. That's it. Once you get them open to the discussion, now it's just a matter of asking more questions. Like, okay, cool. Well, in a perfect world. Oh, and let me back it up too. One way you can eliminate the listing it on the MLS is asking the question like, hey, just out of curiosity, if the only way for you to get the number that you wanted for your house was to list it on the MLS with a realtor, is that something you would be completely opposed to? If they're like, no, I wouldn't be completely opposed to that. Okay, cool. Then that's your direction. Like, personally, I wouldn't even be trying to go down the creative route. I would be like, okay, who's the agent in that area that I can just refer them to and tee it up for them so that they can take it down as a listing and they pay me a referral fee. Why? Because deals are like water, right? Like, water goes the path of least resistance. And that's what I want to do. I want my deals to go the path of least resistance. So if they're not completely opposed to listing it on the MLS, great. Let's list you on the MLS. And I might do a novation, right? If I see an opportunity there. But, depending on the conversation, that may change. So just keep that in your back pocket. It's a good way to make sure you're eliminating the listing option. But yeah, then when you get into the terms, you start asking them, well, in a perfect world, if you're going to sell this house, what kind of down payment and monthly payment would make you feel excited, would help you leave with a smile on your face. And that's not the last number. You're just trying to get a number. It's a starting point.
Yeah, you know what? Best of both worlds scenario is really cool too. I don't know how many people know about that. It depends on the brokerage, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you have to have a deeper relationship with an agent in order for you to be able to present that as an option. And you have to have that kind of planned out with the agent so they know what the situation is. But effectively, the long and short of it is basically you're going to give the seller an option and say, hey, look, I know you want to get the most for it. You're not opposed to listing it on the open market. I think our cash number is a really, really great cash number for you. And I think it's going to be the best number for you. But I get that you might want to test the market. So why don't we do this? We have a program. It's what we refer to it as the best of both worlds. And it's because we have longstanding relationships with agents that we partner with on deals just like this, where what we do is we will help you list the property on the MLS for a short period of time, 30 days. And what'll happen is we'll start getting offers in. You'll have the opportunity to vet those offers. And if the net number after paying out commissions, closing costs, and everything else to you is less than our cash offer, then our agent, she will back out of the agreement. She'll tear up the listing agreement, and she's not going to charge a commission or anything, or he's not going to charge a commission, and you can fall back on our cash offer, right? And you might be thinking, well, why would she do that? Like, what's in it for her? Well, she knows that once we renovate the property and put it back on the market, she's going to get the opportunity to relist that property, and it's going to be at a higher price point, and it's going to sell faster and for a higher number, right? So she's going to make her money either on the front end here or on the back end there, one or the other. So we already have this relationship dialed in. That's how we do these. Now, if the numbers coming in, you're going to net more than our cash offer, I'd be the first to tell you should go with one of those, assuming they're qualified buyers. They already have the approval with the mortgage. They're solid. They're coming in with a reasonable, earnest money, and you feel secure with that transaction. I would absolutely encourage you to go that route. And you might be thinking, why would you guys do that? Right? Like, what's in it for you? And it's like, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, every relationship doesn't end up in a transaction, but our agent, she'll give us a referral fee because we brought her this deal, right? We're the ones that communicated with you first. And so she's going to just, hook us up and give us a little bit of a referral fee just for making the connection and helping her get the listing. So at the end of the day, we're all working together. We're on the same team. We want the same result, which is to get you what you want. If we get you what you want, then we know we'll get what we want.
Yep. We got a modest referral fee. By the way, 35% is probably, that's what we do. That's our standard.
Not modest by any means, but it's still a great referral fee.
Well, percentage-wise, it's not that modest, but depending on where you are, if we're talking about $100,000 house, it's modest.
Yeah.
So,
but we're in San Diego, so our 35% referral fee is like 10 grand most times.
Yeah. Yeah. So in those markets, that's one of the reasons why, because in my head, I was thinking like, if they want to list it, why would we just be like, oh, yeah, for sure. List it. Because in another market for an investor, when they can make $5,000 to $10,000 on a wholesale, but they're only going to make $500 on a referral fee, something like that, they may be like, well, Chris, why would I do that? Well, you're still going to do that for the last thing that he just said, because sometimes it's more about the relationship and helping, and you're really in a service-based industry in addition to sales. So
yeah,
all that said, is there anything else you wanted to cover? Because I'm going to post this really awesome stuff about the virtual assistant hiring process. I'm going to go specifically step by step through our vetting process that we utilize when we're hiring people and giving the appointments to schedule interviews, and a step by step of how to actually interview people and outline. And you guys are going to love it. It's going to be super valuable. And I don't say that to toot my own horn. It's because it helped me. It helped us in our business. And we did create this, but it was more of a framework that we received, and now we've built upon it over many, many years, and we're really excited to share it too. So I'm going to do that. And does
You're gonna
anything
share
else?
that live, or you're posting that?
Oh, I'm posting it. I've already done it. Yeah.
Nice,
So
nice. Yeah, no, the only other thing I would say is for anybody that jumped on and is late to the party, before we go, we'll just share this one more time. If you guys are in Southern California, starting tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and you want to take action, you either maybe you struggle with getting on the phone, or maybe you don't struggle with getting on the phone, but you want to be around other people that are taking action, getting on the phone with sellers and agents, check this out.
Welcome to the San Diego Power Hour. This is the event for action takers by action takers. Every Saturday in San Diego from 9 to 11 a.m.
yeah, if y'all are in the area, be there. It's gonna be great.
And follow the Instagram account San Diego Power Hour, and we'll be posting the details on the location. This week we're at Elijah's Restaurant in Claremont, but moving forward it may not always be at that location because they host other events and stuff. So we're working on a full-time permanent location, and we'll keep you abreast of that on the Instagram channel at San Diego Power Hour. So if you're in San Diego, we're looking forward to meeting you, seeing you there. And again, we provide lead lists that you can call, and we'll work together and help you guys get dialed in and ready to rock on the phones.
Yep. And as always, you guys are awesome. So we are excited to continue working together to make real estate investing easy.